You know that perfect Christmas feeling, right? The decorated tree, maybe some gingerbread in the air, familiar carols playing. It's all about peace and tradition. But what if I told you that for centuries, this exact holiday was an actual battleground, a flashpoint for laws, for revolutions, and for clashing ideologies? This is the story you probably haven't heard, the real wars on Christmas.
It sounds completely made up, doesn't it? But it's true. In different times and places, just trying to celebrate December 25th could get you in some serious trouble. And we're not talking about a small fine from a grumpy neighbor. We're talking about the full force of the law.
So our first stop on this journey is the 17th century, and the first group to declare war on Christmas? The Puritans. To them, the holiday wasn't holy at all. It was just a big, rowdy, and even sinful party that had to be shut down.
Now here's the thing, the Puritans had a point, and it was a historical fact that really bothered them. See, a lot of Christmas traditions, even the date itself, were basically borrowed from older pagan winter festivals, like the Roman party known as Saturnalia. For a group trying to purify Christianity, this was a massive problem.
The Puritans looked through the Bible, and, well, they couldn't find a single command to celebrate Christ's birth on December 25th. All they saw was a holiday that led to people getting drunk in the streets, gambling, and generally causing chaos. They called it an invention of the Catholic Church, filled with what they described as carnal and sensual delights.
So how do you get people to stop celebrating a holiday they love? Simple. You make it illegal, and you make breaking that law hurt. In 1659, the Massachusetts Bay Colony introduced a fine for anyone caught in the act of celebrating Christmas. The cost for a little holiday cheer was 5 shillings. And trust me, back then, that was a lot of money for the average person.
And this isn't some old story, this is the actual wording of the law. And they covered all their bases. Forbearing of labor, that means just taking the day off work, was a crime. Feasting, a crime. Pretty much any kind of observance could get you hit with that crippling fine.
And get this wasn't just a quick symbolic gesture. The official ban in Massachusetts stayed on the books for 22 years. And even after it was gone, that anti-Christmas feeling stuck around for a long, long time. It actually took until 1856, nearly 200 years later, for the state to finally make Christmas a public holiday.
All right, so after those religious battles, the fight shifts. The war on Christmas gets a new enemy, political revolutionaries. Now the holiday wasn't being attacked for being too fun or too pagan. No, this time it was a target because it was a powerful symbol of the very monarchies and churches that revolutionaries were trying to tear down.
You can actually see this incredible pattern emerge across history. During the French Revolution, they tried to erase Christianity by literally renaming Christmas. Fast forward to the Soviet Union, an officially atheist state, and they just abolished it entirely. Then you have Cuba, where it was seen as a symbol of American influence. 3 totally different revolutions, all pointing their guns at the same holiday.
Under Stalin's rule, the Soviets did something really clever. They didn't just ban Christmas, they sort of co-opted it. They took all of the secular traditions people loved, like the evergreen tree, and moved them to New Year's Eve. The gift bringer was no longer St. Nicholas, but a figure called Dade Moroz, or Father Frost. The whole celebration was shifted to a state-approved, non-religious holiday.
Cuba's approach happened in 2 stages. First, in 1959, Castro's government got rid of Santa Claus, calling him a foreign importation and a symbol of American consumerism. But about 10 years later, the entire holiday was banned. And the reason? It was purely economic. Castro needed every single worker out in the fields for the all-important sugar harvest.
And now the story takes its darkest, most disturbing turn. Because while some tried to ban Christmas, one regime tried to do something far more sinister. They didn't want to destroy it, they wanted to capture it, to twist it from the inside out and forge it into a weapon for their own hateful ideology.
And that is the crucial difference. The Nazi regime knew how powerful Christmas was for the German people. You couldn't just get rid of it. So instead, they launched a massive, systematic campaign to Nazify it, twisting every single symbol and tradition to serve their own twisted worldview.
So what was their central problem? It was something they just could not get around. How can a regime built on a foundation of violent anti-Semitism celebrate the birth of a Jewish Messiah? Well, they couldn't. Their only solution was to try and erase Jesus and anything Jewish from Christmas altogether. They went so far as to rewrite Silent Night. Think about that. One of the most famous carols in the world. They took out the verse about the Holy Infant and they replaced it with a verse praising Adolf Hitler, who they called the Chancellor who stays on guard for Germany.
It's just the most blatant propaganda imaginable.
And this takeover was total. The star on top of the tree replaced with a swastika. Christmas itself was rebranded as Jolfest, an ancient pagan solstice festival. St. Nicholas was out, and the old Germanic god Wotan was in. They even changed holiday baking, encouraging mothers to use swastika-shaped cookie cutters for their kids.
You have to imagine what this was like. In that environment, the simple act of singing the original words to Silent Night in your own home, or putting a traditional star on top of your tree, that became an act of defiance. A private, quiet celebration of a real Christian Christmas was a form of silent protest against the regime.
So after looking at all these battles, religious, political, ideological, what have we learned? Well, all these conflicts tell us something really profound about what holidays actually are. They are so much more than just a day on the calendar.
It's like holidays are a mirror. When you look at how a society fights over a holiday like Christmas, what you're really seeing is a reflection of its biggest struggles. You're seeing what it truly values, whether that's religious purity, a political revolution, or national identity. The fight over Christmas has always been a fight for the soul of a culture.
And that brings us to the great paradox of Christmas. The very thing that allowed it to survive, its flexibility, its ability to adapt and absorb pagan traditions, that was also its greatest weakness. It's what made it so easy for others to try and corrupt it. But in the end, that same flexibility is what ensured it could be bent but never, ever broken.
Which leaves us with one last question to think about. We've seen Christmas as a Puritan crime, a revolutionary target, and a tool of propaganda. So when you look around at how we celebrate today, with all the shopping, the movies, the different family traditions, what does it say about our society? What are the values and battles reflected in our Christmas? We really hope this has given you a whole new way to think about a holiday you thought you knew. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey. We truly value your time and most of all, your curiosity.